But this game was madness too, Logan. And backs against the wall, the Orlando Magic clutch out a win on their home floor. Home team has won every game in this series. We're going to game 7. How do you feel about Orlando after this game?
Played a song, man. Played a song.
On stream, we'll get copyright claimed.
No, abort mission. Never mind. Man, that song does fire me up, though, man. For Orlando, big showing for the young core, man. Like Paolo, Franz, and Suggs. They looked really good tonight. And Paolo, man, I want to start with him. Dude, he is one of the toughest buckets. Like, if I need a tough shot made, Paolo is on my short list of guys I want shooting it. It's weird
ridiculous
because he'll clang a catch and shoot jumper that's wide open at the 3. But, man, if I need that turnaround elbow midi, Paolo's banging that dude. And when he's one of those guys that I just feel like when he gets in a rhythm, man, those are shots that are kind of unaffectable and unstoppable. And when you can get all 3 of these guys on like this, Orlando's real, like offensively, right? We always know what we're going to get out of this team defensively. They are stout. They are strong. They are long. They are physical. Orlando's going to make you work. That's their identity. But offensively, they are inconsistent perpetually, right? Paolo can have an off night shooting from the field. Franz can have an off night shooting from the field. Jalen Suggs, most nights you're just hoping he hits the broadside of a barn. Tonight, he was doing his thing. And to me, Suggs is the guy that unlocks the ceiling for this team long term. I love Jalen Suggs when he came out of the draft. Did I compare him to Derrick Rose? Yes. Was that foolish? Yes. But
you were an excited young man.
I'm mad. Dude, I was fired up on Jalen Suggs.
And you were in love. People do crazy things when they're in love.
And he had a bunch of big shots in that tournament. I loved Suggsy, man. The one thing I was right on Suggsy is that motor and that energy that he brings night to night. Mm-hmm. Like when you come on defensively on the glass, Suggs never turns it off. But when you can get this kind of night from him offensively, Orlando's scary. Like he shoots super well from behind the arc, man. He bangs 6 threes in this one, 6 of 13, 6 threes that Orlando desperately needed in this game, man. That's what's so frustrating about Orlando. And one thing that I really hope they address this season is just getting other guys that can spot up more competently. Franz and Paolo generate so many good looks for these guys. If it's Wendell Carter Jr., if it's Jonathan Isaac, like these big men that sink out. And there's so many guys that just can't hit them. Like I just want more guys that are pure shooters that can capitalize on all the good looks that Franz and Paolo generate for them. I feel like there's a lot of offense that is being left on the table for Orlando consistently. And so you need a performance like this where nobody else is hitting their shots. You need Suggs to come through. And he did, man. Wendell Carter goes 1 of 7 from behind the arc. Sure, he can space the floor more than he could in Chicago, man, but he still can't shoot. You need this. You need somebody to step up, and you need to shoot from behind the arc because Orlando's going to generate those looks. In Cleveland, which I didn't think was smart, Cleveland kind of let them just shoot. They said, okay, we're just going to let Orlando chuck them up if they want to. And they couldn't get anything going offensively. But finally, Carson, in this weird, grimy, nasty Cleveland-Orlando series that we got, we finally see Orlando's offense come together a little bit with this big 3, for lack of a better term. Paolo, Franz, and Suggs all do their thing, man. And that to me is the most encouraging thing is that finally we saw Suggs step his game up a little bit and bang some shots.
Well, I want to give Suggs credit because in their wins, he has been really good. And obviously their other 2 wins in Orlando were just absolute blowouts. But across those 3 games, he's averaging over 19 a night. He is, I believe, 11 of 23 from deep. Like he has stepped up when they've needed it. Of course, he's been inconsistent and he's not going to be valuable as a creator. But like you said, they just need dudes who can knock down spot up jumpers. And that has been a theme of this series, just who can be competent shooting the basketball from beyond the arc. I will also say, let's not say that Wendell Carter Jr. can't shoot it. He hasn't had a very good series.
Oh no, sorry. My bad. I meant to say he has improved. He's a good, no. Wendell can space the floor. Yeah, like he can, but he's going to have
taking his middies in this game.
Yeah, but he's going to have his games like this.
Yeah, for sure. He's not consistent. That's the problem. All these guys are inconsistent. Isaac is inconsistent. Even Suggs is inconsistent. But this is just so encouraging to me. And it's really about Franz and Paolo. And obviously Orlando wants to win game 7. Duh. And I think they have a very real chance to do so. But I would come away from this series with a positive outlook even more confident in the future of this team than I was coming into it, because those two dudes stepped up. And just as this series has gone on, they've only gotten better and better. Paolo is averaging 25, 7, and 4 on 56% true shooting. Over his last 4 games, only averaging 3 turnovers a night after that was brutal over the first 2 as a passer. His ball handling, he was too loose with it. He was forecasting his reads, like just really struggling in those first couple of playoff games against a really good defense. He's been better. He's played cleaner since then. And you mentioned the shot making, Logan. Paolo's always been a really impressive, difficult shot maker, but because his shot diet is so hard, because he does settle for these tough shots so much, it's generally made him a pretty inefficient scorer. In this series, he is shooting almost 60% from mid-range. He is 22 of 37 from mid-range. He was 40% in the regular season. Now, I do think there's reasons that his shot making translates. He is big as hell and he is strong as hell. So he can impose himself and he can get to those turnarounds. He can shoot over smaller defenders, but still, these are tough shots that he's making at a ridiculous clip, a clip that we would not normally expect him to make these shots at. But whatever, dude, he's balled out. And in Orlando's wins, like games 3, game 5, even though they didn't win, he was phenomenal. And in this game, I thought that he was really good again. So he's just gotten better. 39% from deep as well. It's just phenomenal jump shooting. And then Franz is giving you 21, 7, and 4 on 60% true shooting. And he's done that even without great shooting from beyond the arc, where he's had a really rough year. He's just getting to that paint and he's getting to the line. I've always loved Franz, and I feel like he has gotten overshadowed by Paolo. Like last year, he was just clearly their best player because of the defensive impact, because of the efficiency, because of the playmaking. Paolo was still figuring a lot of things out. He still is, but it was more dramatic when he was a rookie. The flaws were more obvious, but he was the face. But like Franz was already so great and so clearly a future star. And he didn't get off to the best start to this series, but then game 4, he was ridiculous. This game, he was really good again. And those bottom line numbers are really impressive. I just love everything about him as a driver, the pace, the body control, the footwork. He is one of the best Euro steps in the league, but on those spins, like he is just always playing at his own pace. He gets where he wants in and around the paint, and then his touch is good. He has such great length as a finisher. One of the best transition scorers in the league as well, but has been so good out of pick and roll in this series. They're both legit playmakers. They were both unafraid of going into Evan Mobley's body in this game, and Mobley has been awesome as a rim protector, but they don't fear that physicality. They're big physical wings who can get downhill. Paolo, maybe I wish was more consistent with it, but they both have that ability. And again, they can feed their teammates off of that. And they are 21 and 22 years old, dude. They are only the second duo of teammates 22 or younger ever to average 20 points per game in the same postseason, joining KD and Russ. Pretty damn good company, dude. And they've done that while they're both improving their efficiency compared to the regular season against a top 7 defense. Now, it hasn't been quite as imposing a defense without Jared Allen on the floor, because that guy's just awesome and he can hang with these dudes because he moves so well in space and he's so strong, and he's also obviously a great rim protector. But it's still a good team defense even without Allen on the floor. Definitely not the same, but still a good defense. And these guys haven't been super consistent, but they've just improved. They've gotten more comfortable. They've done this with limited spot up shooting and no real other creators. I'm super impressed. The standard can't be Paolo and Franz go out there and play like an established star tandem every night. They're 21 and 22, and they have been clearly 2 of the 3 best players in this series, and they have now put their team in a position where they can advance past the first round. Cleveland is flawed. Cleveland is hurt with Jared Allen. That just really rarely happens. It's very, very rare, and it's so impressive from these two.
It's so impressive, and the hardest thing in team building is finding your number 1 and your number 2. Guess what? Orlando doesn't have to do that. They got them, and they're babies. Like, I mean, that's the beauty, is you can take the conglomerate of assets that you have off of the bench, and if that star comes available, like the Magic are ready to pull that trigger. I think they need a little more offensive creation, Carson, like another guy who can get them tough buckets, who can knock down spot-up jumpers, and alleviate the pressure off these guys. But they've got the defensive foundation, and they got the number 1 and the number 2. And I've always said it. I know Paolo's numbers from the regular season won't back it up. He's a great shooter, man. He is a legitimately great shooter. I believe in him. And Franz,
great. Logan, we must be careful with our adjectives.
Shooter. I think
he's having a great shooting series. He's having a great shooting series. I would say he is a good shooter who, yes, his percentages sell him short, but it's tough for anybody to be a great shooter when they're shooting 39% in the paint outside the restricted area, 40% on mid-range, 35, 36% from deep. He's having a great shooting series. He's playing out of his mind as a jump shooter, but there's only so many great shooters.
I think he's one of them. I like
All
Paolo,
right.
man. I think he's a beast. Franz,
I like Paolo a lot.
and that's the encouraging thing, though, is like you mentioned, man, the physical traits with Paolo too. When the jumper isn't falling, he's got a counter. You know what I mean? He can put his head down and get to the bucket. The other area I was really impressed with on these guys was their defense. Franz and Paolo too, man. Like, this is a great team defense. They all heart, all energy, all effort. And big credit to the guys on the inside too, John Isaac, Wendell Carter. The guy that stuck out to me was Paolo. Like, Paolo was getting down and
good Paolo
dirty.
defensive game.
He was getting dirty. It is hard. And he's a big dude, right? 6'10", 250. He's a big guy, but he was banging down low in this series, man, or in this game specifically. Like, when guys were coming up with shots and he was down there, man, he was rotating and defending shots. Like, I loved this all-around game from him. And luckily for them, man, they eke it out. It also comes with a comically bad Cleveland offensive performance from the surrounding pieces, and it's pretty clear that they don't have any answer for Donovan Mitchell, hobbled or not. But the two young guys balled out. Suggs pulled his weight offensively, and the defense did enough, man. It's a good, hard-fought win, and they stay alive, man. Like, I picked Orlando in the series. Dude, after the first two games, I was ready to write them off. I would never flip on my pick. I'm going to stick solid, and I've stuck with Orlando through it. But I had kind of given up hope after those first two games.
I thought going in, I'd be very surprised if Orlando wins. After the first two games, I said I would be shocked. And here they are with a very real chance to do it. And they absolutely need a legit high-end offensive guard when we're looking long-term. But I've been saying since last year, they have two future top 20 players on their roster. I think Franz is that good. And I'm not as high on Paolo as some people are, because I think there's an aesthetic to his game and the athleticism and the tough shot making. And sometimes people can overlook some of the inconsistencies and imperfections just because of aura and whatnot. But I do think he's clearly an all NBA guy. I think he's probably going to be like a fringe top 10 kind of guy in the league. And that's a great spot to be in, because Suggs is also, like, I would say, a pretty core piece here. It would take a lot for me to move off of Suggs just to have one of the best point of attack defenders in the league and a guy who has been so good shooting the ball this year. It would take a lot, man, but they do need that offensive guard long-term. But for now, this is just an awesome series. Also, I want to give some light props to Cole Anthony and Markelle Fultz, because the guard play has been really rough throughout this series. In this game, I thought they both gave some solid minutes and a little bit of offensive pop at the very least that this team has not really gotten from them. On the flip side of this, Logan, the Cavs waste a special Donovan Mitchell game. He gives you 50. He gives you 18 of their 18 points in the fourth quarter, and they still lose. What do you take away from that?
The man needs help. Can we get the man some help? Yeah, I mean, they just leave him hanging in this game. You mentioned it, a 50 piece. He scores all of their fourth quarter points, and this is without Jared Allen. I mean, Evan Mobley just has to improve as an offensive player, man. He's got to give me something, anything, man. Evidenced by the last second layup, man, where I'm like, okay, Mobley clangs it off the front iron, where I'm sitting there going, hey, man, get it above the rim and just put it in there with your big ass, or just go dunk it, Evan. You're huge. Like, his game is so frustrating, man. He's like Bambi. He's just uncoordinated. He has his moments, man. He has his moments.
Defensively, he's so agile. Like, it's his upper body that's uncoordinated.
That's what doesn't make sense. He's such a good mover, and he's so, he is coordinated defensively, and then you get him out there, and he's like a deer on skates. I don't get it. And then I'm not going to let Garland off the hook. I thought Garland played better than he has during this series. Garland gives you 21, 7, and 5 on 10 of 17 shooting, 1 of 4 from behind the arc. But in the fourth quarter, takes one shot, has 3 turnovers, and it wasn't just the turnovers. There was a bad one in this game where he like dribbles it off himself, but there's also another missed layup late in this game where he gets all the way downhill and just airmails the layup. Like, he rolls it off the backboard, doesn't even hit rim. Like, Garland's got to be better in the clutch too, man.
He cost them the game. He cost them a chance to win the game at the very least.
Yeah, and it just sucks that you waste this game, man. Donovan Mitchell, not on full strength. Like, at a point in this game, he heads back to the locker room. Like, his knee is clearly hampering him. Nobody can hold him. He's getting by everybody. He is killing Orlando in the pick and roll, like, devastating them. And, like, Carson, this guy, I couldn't believe these numbers. Carson, he has 4 career 50-point games now. 1 in the regular season and 3 in the playoffs. That's a real sample size.
Like that.
Carson, there's only 50 50-point playoff games in NBA history. Donovan Mitchell has 3 of them.
Crazy.
He has tied third the most 50-point games in playoff history. He's just behind Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain, and he's tied with Allen Iverson for third place. That is rare freaking company, man, and I tweeted this one out. He's one of 2 players with a 50-point playoff game in which his own team scores under 100 points. It's Donovan Mitchell, and then Allen Iverson did it twice. For context, too, Allen Iverson's team won both of those games. Like, I just feel bad for the guy. He gets over 30 points in the paint in this game. It's the most they
36.
flash this. 36 is what he ends with. This is what they flash up on the broadcast. It's the most by a guard in the paint in 25 years with Kobe. Like, Donovan Mitchell was just one of the best pure scorers in basketball. And there's only a few guys like this in the NBA who can go off like this. He's one of them. And I just feel like he's so limited by this offensive supporting cast, Carson. Like, with this, give the guy some shooting. A guy that he can reliably kick the ball out to. And, he'll weaponize his playmaking more. Like, I know Mitchell gets his tunnel vision. That's, one of his things as a player. It's what makes him this great scorer. But also, I don't blame the guy. I'm not passing the freaking ball to any of you guys. Like, nobody else can get a bucket. I just feel bad for him, man. I feel bad that his supporting cast played like this, that he has nobody else to turn to. And that, again, what is so remarkable about this, that he is not at 100%, and he's still unstoppable. Nobody on the court can hold him.
This was maybe my favorite Donovan Mitchell playoff game because every other explosion has been largely on the back of, I'm going to take 12 pull-up threes. I'm going to make 6 or 7 of them. That's how we're going to go crazy. That's what happened in 2020 and 2021 when he's averaging 30 plus. He is shooting ridiculously from beyond the arc. But what he's always had to complement that is the special downhill pressure, the athleticism and the footwork and the body control and the touch and the paint. And that carries him in this one because he hasn't shot well all series. In the last 2 postseasons, what happened? He didn't make his pull-up threes, and he shot his teams out of games basically because he's taking 10 to 12 of those looks, and he's making 25% of them. He's shooting 25% from deep in this series, and I want to be clear, hasn't been consistently very good. Game 1, start of game 2, he was, but there's been a lot of rough moments because the jumper isn't falling and because I do think the knee has affected him, but he just made it so that jump shooting volatility didn't matter. He got into the paint every possession that he wanted to. 36 points in the paint, Logan, is unfathomable. And he's just such a beautiful driver, dude. Like, the wide variety of moves that he can hit you with, he hits you with that swim move. He can hit you with the Euro. He can spin. We know that he is like the king of splitting doubles. Like, the handle and the athleticism and the artistry is just outstanding. And the floater touch amidst all that length that Orlando has, they started 4 guys 6'10" or taller today. He's 14 of 20 on floaters this series. With the knee, I'm just not sure that he has another performance like that in him, dude. Even if they advance the next round, like, that was special Donovan Mitchell in a vacuum. And when you consider what he's looked like this series, it's extra special. And that's where it's just devastating to me that they let him down. And I saw some criticism for him shooting every possession down in the fourth quarter. Look, man, he was 8 of 13 in the fourth quarter. Nobody else could do anything. Even if you knew Donovan Mitchell was driving downhill and he was going to put up that floater, even if you knew he was going to come down and shoot a tough pull-up 3, it was still better than anything anybody else was giving you. Like, last year, I was legitimately frustrated at times with just how much he got sucked into that tunnel vision. This game is not an example. He did everything, and he is your offensive foundation. And there's been a lot of scapegoating of him, saying that he stunted Darius Garland, calling him just a shot chucker. Yes, there is a lower floor with him, but there's also a really high ceiling. When we're talking to guys who are on the comparable level, and you see the ceiling in this game, and Garland had it going for a stretch of this game, as he did last game, but he's still been so streaky. And the mental errors, dude, he commits an 8-second violation when there's no ball pressure in the last 3 minutes of, I believe it was a 3-point game at that point. Maybe it was a 5-point game. You just can't do that. You have a teammate who is putting you on his back, carrying you, and you just commit the most inexcusable mental error that there is. He has a defensive rebound in his hands, and he lets Jonathan Isaac just rip it away. Like, I've been so disappointed by Garland because he hasn't been good offensively compared to his standards, and it's been a rough season. But the mental shit like that, it's just like, bro, if I were Donovan Mitchell, I would be so pissed at you. And then Mobley was amazing defensively. I thought he has 5 sensational blocks in this game, and in this series has just been so good as a rim protector. He switched on to Paolo in the closing stretch of last game and did a great job on him. I mean, over the last several games, dude, 5 blocks in this one, 4 stocks last game, 4 stocks last game, 3 stocks the game before that. He's been remarkable, but offensively, it's just brutal. He was 1 of 5 inside 8 feet tonight, Logan. Like, the inconsistency as a finisher, the trepidation that you see at times, and then every post touch is just like, oh man, he's going to shoot a sort of spastic hook. If he's up against a defender who matches him in terms of size, like, he's just going to miss. He's 9 of 32 outside the restricted area this series. That's just inexcusable. That's where the lack of development just kills you. And he's not supposed to be holding things down as your lone big, but he is right now. And he's done his job defensively, but he hasn't done it offensively. And the reality for the Cavs is you just cannot be playing Marcus Morris 27 minutes and Tristan Thompson 12 minutes and George Niang legitimate minutes in a playoff game in game 6. Like, Jared Allen goes down and Dean Wade is hurt and your depth is just awful. And of course it was bad last year, but I thought it was improved. But now, like, when you actually are missing a couple guys, it gets real ugly again real fast. So I do just feel bad for Donovan Mitchell, even though he hasn't been his best throughout this series, because he was in this game. And this Cavs team will have the full conversation once their season is over, but it's just been so underwhelming, and it's so clear that they need to make major changes.
And they just didn't address them enough in the offseason, man.
Yeah.
There's a long way to go. And the thing with this too,
Long way to
dude,
go.
you just don't want Donovan Mitchell getting frustrated, man. You know, we've heard the bubblings. You know, we heard it back in Utah. We've heard it a little bit here in Cleveland, man. When does it become, too much for him to endure? Cleveland just has to get more impactful players, more impactful role players. They got to get more guys who are just offensively inclined, man. Like another guy who can go get his own shot. It's too much, man.
Oh my God.
It's too much.
Logan,
lay it on me. Lay it on me.
I just found the most depressing stat. The Cavs are averaging 0.62 points per spot up. That in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That is unsurprisingly the worst number in the field. When your spot up shooting is worse than the Orlando Magic, that tells you something. And shout out Max Strus, bro. At least he's made his spot up jumpers at a decent clip throughout this series and defended well. But it's been brutal, man. Brutal. So game 7, what's your gut feeling there? Just real quick.
Give me Orlando, honestly. I don't know. I'm just going to stick with my gut. I took Orlando at the top of the series. I'll stick with them. And I just want to hear that song one more time, man.
Orlando Magic. Yeah, that'd be great. The Magic have awesome vibes. And I think that they're going to be a real factor in the East for a long time. I want to hold out my answer until we know if Jared Allen is playing, but I'm not a coward, so I won't. If Jared Allen was playing, I would pick the Cavs with some confidence. Orlando has just been better over these last 4 games. They have. Like, they've had clearly 2 of the 3 best offensive players. They've been more consistent defensively and in the effort categories. They've gotten better spot up shooting, but also the home team has won every game. And with Jared Allen on the floor, then I think that formula is great for them defensively, because he and Mobley can both guard the wings and they can both protect the rim. Like, their outlook just changes. You're playing shitty basketball players less. You don't have to play Tristan Thompson at all. Tristan Thompson, who got a couple post touches in this game. Like, what the hell? Sometimes I do wonder, like, why do they run actions for these guys? Like, these absolute, no offense, bums. It's just so strange to me, the Cleveland Cavaliers as a basketball team. I'm going to pick them either way, because I do think that home court advantage has clearly mattered in this series, and against a young team that very much feeds off of energy like Orlando, I do think that home court advantage matters a bit more than usual, and I think we've seen that in this series. And Donovan Mitchell should be the best player on the floor. I believe that he will be probably, but it's not impossible that it could be Paolo or it could be Franz. And I trust both those guys more than I trust Darius Garland right now. So this game to me is damn near a toss up. If Allen doesn't play, if Allen does play, then I think that I would lean Cleveland sort of solidly, but I still wouldn't be surprised. And honestly, it's probably going to come down to who shoots better between the Max Struses and the Jonathan Isaacs of the world. That very well could be the deciding factor.